Meet the pronghorn. It's North America's fastest land animal, an icon of the American West, blazing across the plains at speeds up to 55 miles per hour. They can hold high speeds for miles, with a stamina that would leave even an elite racehorse in the dust. They were born and bred on the same continent where cowboys and pioneers built an entire culture around the horse. So, with all that incredible speed and home field advantage, why have we spent thousands of years saddling up horses, while you've never seen a cowboy on a pronghorn? The question seems obvious, but the answer isn't about speed or strength. The reason is ancient, written into the pronghorn's very biology millions of years ago. It reveals the surprising secret of which animals were destined to be our partners, and which were forever shaped to remain wild. To really get the puzzle here, you have to appreciate that the pronghorn is a living ghost. They aren't true antelope, but the last survivors of a totally unique North American family, Antilocapridae. They are an evolutionary masterpiece, built by a vanished world for one thing above all else: escape. For a long time, the leading theory was that the pronghorn's main predator was the now extinct American cheetah, forcing it into an evolutionary arms race. But newer fossil evidence shows that pronghorns were already built for speed millions of years before the American cheetah even appeared. They were forged by a whole host of ancient pressures we can only guess at. The result is an animal that can outrun almost anything on the planet over a long haul. While a thoroughbred might hit 45 miles per hour in a short sprint, a pronghorn can maintain 35 miles per hour for over 4 miles. If a horse and a pronghorn were to race for 5 miles, the pronghorn would simply vanish over the horizon. This phenomenal endurance is powered by a set of biological superpowers. They have massive hearts and lungs for their body size, a huge trachea to gulp down air, and even hollow hair for insulation. Their enormous eyes give them a field of vision of over 300 degrees, letting them spot movement up to 4 miles away. They are, in every sense, the ultimate open-country survivalist, designed for a world that no longer exists. When European settlers arrived, they found a continent teeming with millions of these animals. They also brought with them the horse, whose ancestors had vanished from the Americas thousands of years earlier. The horse quickly became essential. But the pronghorn, this native-born speedster, was left as wildlife. Why was one animal brought into the fold while the other, a product of this very land, was left to run free? To answer that, we have to look past speed and at the strict ancient rules of domestication. Here's the thing: taming an animal isn't the same as domesticating it. You can tame a single bear or a tiger, but you haven't domesticated the species. Domestication is a generational process, where humans fundamentally change a species' genetics and behavior to fit our needs. It's an intense, millennia-long project, and very few animals actually make the cut. In his book, Guns, Germs, and Steel, scientist Jared Diamond laid out 6 key criteria an animal species has to meet to be a candidate for domestication. Think of it as a checklist that decodes an ancient filter, separating our partners from the wild. If a species fails even one of these, domestication is probably off the table. First, they can't be picky eaters. Second, they have to grow up fast. Third, they need to be willing to breed in captivity. Fourth, they need a reasonably calm disposition. An animal that's naturally wired for aggression or panic is too dangerous. Fifth, they can't have a hair-trigger flight response. And finally, sixth, they must have a social structure that humans can hack, a herd with a clear hierarchy where we can step in and become the leader. When you run the horse through this checklist, it passes. But when we look at the pronghorn, we start to see exactly why its ancient past prevents it from having a future with us. At first glance, a pronghorn looks a bit like a small, delicate horse. But their entire anatomy is a monument to an ancient need for speed, often at the expense of the traits needed for a riding animal. Their bodies are incredibly lightweight and fine-boned. This isn't a flaw, it's a hyper-specialized adaptation for outrunning predators that are now just fossils. But it means their skeleton just isn't built to carry the concentrated weight of a person. A horse has a robust frame that evolved to support a larger body, which just so happened to be perfect for carrying us. And for all their speed, pronghorns have a glaring weakness born from their ancient habitat: they don't really jump. They evolved on wide-open plains with few obstacles, an environment that existed for millions of years. The instinct to leap simply isn't in their evolutionary vocabulary. As a result, they almost always try to crawl under fences rather than over them, a profound impracticality for a cross-country mount. Even their internal machinery is all wrong for the job. Their giant heart and lungs are fine-tuned for outlasting ancient dangers, not for the steady load-bearing work we'd ask of them. Feeding them would also be tough. Unlike horses, which are hardy grazers, pronghorns are picky browsers, preferring specific native shrubs and plants, a diet dictated by their long history on the American plains. Physically, the pronghorn is a high-performance relic. It's unbelievably fast, but it was built for a different time and a different purpose. But the physical limits are only half the story. The real barrier is in the pronghorn's ancient mind. This is where the pronghorn fails the domestication checklist most spectacularly. Its defining trait is a powerful, hair-trigger flight response, an instinct honed over millions of years by predators that haven't walked the earth for millennia. Its only instinct is to flee. Always. This makes them incredibly high-strung and nervous. This isn't just a personality quirk, it's a neurological echo from a bygone era. They are so prone to panic that when confined, they can injure or even kill themselves by blindly crashing into fences. Wildlife managers often have to sedate pronghorns for transport just to keep them from stressing to death. This is the polar opposite of the calm disposition needed for a domestic partner. Their social structure is also a hurdle. Horses live in herds with a strong, clear hierarchy. Humans figured out how to exploit this ancient social code by taking on the role of the alpha. Pronghorns have a more flexible, fluid social system, a strategy that served them well on the ancient plains, but it doesn't offer that same in for a human to assume control. They just don't look for a leader in the same way a horse does. There have been a few cases of hand-rearing orphaned pronghorns, but even then, their caretakers noted their deeply ingrained flightiness. Any sudden surprise could trigger a panic attack hardwired by eons of evolution. That's not a scalable trait for an animal meant to work in a chaotic human world. Let's circle back to the horse. Why did its ancient history allow it to succeed where the pronghorns forbade it? The horses first domesticated 6,000 years ago weren't our sleek modern breeds. But crucially, their evolutionary path had given them the right personality. They had a naturally calmer temperament. They were curious, but not overly fearful. Their fight-or-flight response was more balanced, meaning they were more willing to accept a human's guidance instead of bolting senselessly. Their ancient herd hierarchy made them ready to follow a leader, a role humans were happy to fill. They were also physically suited for the job. Their strong backs made them perfect for both riding and labor. Over thousands of years, we engaged in selective breeding. We chose the calmest and most trainable horses to reproduce. We didn't just tame them, we tapped into their existing evolutionary traits and shaped their future. The pronghorn never went through this, because its ancient programming failed the very first test. It just wasn't temperamentally suited for the job. Even today, you can see this ancient behavioral gap. In areas where feral horses and pronghorns share territory, the horse's confidence, born of a different evolutionary past, makes it dominant. One is a confident animal, comfortable in its place. The other is a wary survivor, forever scanning the horizon for the ghosts of predators past. So, why don't we ride pronghorns? It's not because they aren't fast enough. They are fantastically fast. It's because domestication is never about a single trait. It's a complex mix of biology, behavior, and ancient history. The pronghorn is a living relic, a lightweight, specialized machine built for pure, unadulterated escape from predators that now exist only as fossils. You wouldn't use a Formula One car to haul lumber. For that, you need the work truck, the horse. Sturdy, reliable, and with a temperament that, by a lucky accident of its own evolution, allows for partnership. The horse was adaptable enough to be managed. The pronghorn was perfected to outrun danger. And while a few individuals have been tamed, the species as a whole is governed by an ancient mind that doesn't have the capacity for partnership. In the end, the pronghorn's wildness is its very essence. It was shaped by the vast, open spaces of a primeval North America. Its refusal to be saddled isn't a failure, but a testament to its own unique and successful evolutionary path, a message from a vanished world, telling us it was meant to run free. What other questions do you have? Let us know in the comments below. And for more explorations, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.